I feel like I'm just gonna keep screaming Flynn come home at least 10 times a day until the finale. Hey guys, what's up? It's Julie the Bibliophile. This week I wanted to do a little bonus vlog outside of the episode reviews because, I just have a lot of feelings about Flynn Carson, and I really don't think that's a surprise to anybody that I have a lot of feelings about Flynn Carson. I mean, we've all known that for over a year now. I talked a lot about Flynn in my episode review of And the Graves of Time, but I've been thinking a lot as the week has gone on. I've been going back and forth with how I feel about the writing decision that we had at the end of that. But I really do love it as a writing decision. I think it makes a lot of sense for Flynn's character. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about Flynn. I want to kind of talk about his whole character journey throughout the whole series, and how his development is so consistent and why I love it so much. And I also want to talk about some predictions that I have about what's going to come in this season now that we have this whole arc with Flynn. I want to talk a little bit about, how I think the other characters are going to react to Flynn. And I want to talk about, predicting what happened. What happened exactly, because we don't know, and how is it going to be resolved. First of all, I want to apologize for, the bathrobe, because I know it's, not the best thing to be looking at right now, but my room is very cold. My house is very cold. New York is very cold. It's very, very cold. It's just cold. I'm cold, and so we're gonna keep the bathrobe on. But okay. So, obviously, also, spoilers for Graves of Time. If you are not yet caught up with Season 4 of The Librarians up through Season 6, this video is not for you. Go ahead and watch it, and then come back and discuss. So, I love this. It hurts so much, and I was in physical pain all day, the day after the episode premiered, but I love it a lot, and I just keep loving it more and more as the time has gone on, and I think it makes more and more sense for Flynn, and I think especially after I rewatched And the Bleeding Crown the other day, I think this really shows us more than anything. It does not show us Flynn backtracking. It actually shows us how far he's moved forward. Flynn has always had setbacks. It's always been made clear, too, that whatever development Flynn makes, it's not permanent. He's gonna have setbacks. But what I really love about this is that even though Flynn has left, he's not leaving in the way that he did before, and I think that's an important thing to remember when we're talking about the consistency of Flynn's character here. In Season 1, it was different. Season 1, he's just leaving because he had to, and Eve told him to keep going. But then we get to Season 2, and and he starts being with a team, and we realize Flynn doesn't really know how to be with a team. And he feels okay with Eve. He does feel okay being with Eve. He doesn't want to be alone. He wants to be with Eve, but he can't really handle the Litz being there. And so he leaves because Eve wants to stay with the Litz, and they're fighting about that, and they're fighting about their differences, and Flynn doesn't know how to handle a fight. Flynn does so he leaves, so he bolts. And then in Season 3, Flynn aren't fighting, and Flynn actually does love the Litz a lot, but what happens in Season 3 is that Flynn kind of starts to believe that he can't be loved. Flynn gets caught up in his trust issues and his commitment issues, and Flynn believes that, he can't be loved, and he also starts to believe that they're better off without him because, in Fangs of Death, Ezekiel almost dies because of him, or so he thinks. That's how he perceives it, and so he thinks, I just gotta go look for Charlene. I gotta be on my own. I can't stand putting you in danger, and I'm not in a good place right now where I will be able to protect you the way I need to, so I'm out of here. And then when we see him in Trial of a Triangle, we see that, he says, I'm afraid of getting close to people because I'm terrified of being hurt. And now, Season 3, we see the development from Season 2. In Season 2, where he wasn't really close with the Litz, now in Season 3, he is, and he's afraid of that and what that means, and especially with Eve. So he runs then. And now we're up to Season 4, and Season 4 really, really gets me because Flynn has come so far. And even in the leaving, again, he has come so far, and I think the fact that he is leaving demonstrates how far he's come from how he's left before. I feel like one of the really important things to note here is how long Flynn has been there. We really have no frame of reference of how long each season is. We know Season 1 lasted 6 months, and in between Season 1 and 2 was 3 months. And we also know that for season 3, the time between episode 2 and episode 9 was 8 months. And there was also probably about a month in between episode 9 and episode 10, a month at least. But we don't really know anything about that. I did the math the other day. I think we can assume that, the whole series has probably lasted about 3 years now. Same time it's been airing, we might be caught up. But I just want to think about how long Flynn has been there. Flynn has been there with the team consistently, not leaving from season 3, episode 6, all the way up to season 4, episode 6. It could possibly be a year, it could be 6 months, but he's been there a really long time. Like, he's been there with them for a long time, longer than he ever has, I think, and I think that's really important, and I think that's big progress for Flynn. And now what I want to look at is that why Flynn left. It's not character backtrack because he's not leaving for the same reasons that he did in previous seasons. Character backtrack, I think, would be, if Flynn went off again on, I need to be alone, I need to work alone, I need to find this thing from the library alone, but that's literally not what happened. And I was thinking a lot about this yesterday. I rewatched The Bleeding Crown, and I want to think about the fact that Darrington Dare said to Flynn, there can only be one librarian. This is Flynn's hero, and we know how Flynn feels about his heroes. We know through the whole episode how he feels about and reacts to Darrington Dare. And Flynn, without hesitation, fights Dare on this. He's like, no, that's not right. We all work together. We all love the library. This is my family. We're the librarians. Like, you're wrong. And Flynn says that with so much conviction, and I think that just shows how far he's come, because Flynn of a year ago wouldn't have done that. Flynn of a year ago would have been swayed by Dare, and into maybe having a relationship issue with Eve, maybe having a fight with Eve, maybe, saying to Eve, we should let the Lits go off on their own. That was what Flynn of a year ago, or 2 years ago, would have done if Dare had said this to him, but he's not. And then, when the library and the fate of the world is at stake, Flynn puts Eve and the Lits first. He puts them first, and Dare is yelling at him to not put them first, but Flynn does. And Flynn doesn't let this outside voice of his hero, mind you, sway him into not being there for Eve and the Lits. And I think that has made Flynn come so far. But then, that in itself is going to contribute to Flynn leaving. Flynn has worked long and hard through the whole show, as we discussed before, to believe that his friends and his relationships are more important than the library. Because in season 2, and a little bit less, but still in season 3, we see Flynn saying the job is more important, the library is more important, the fate of the world is more important, and he's putting those things above his family, which is why he keeps running off, why they keep getting into fights. But now, in season 4, Flynn is at a place where he's put the importance of his family above the importance of the library, as he said to Dare. He's put his relationship with Eve, his family with the Lits. He said that's more important than the world, that's more important than the library, that's more important than knowledge. What I have with these people is the most important thing. And to know that Flynn can say that now is so important. But then what happens? Now that Flynn has made people more important than the library, which he fought so hard to do, he fought so hard to place these people in higher importance than the library. And now to have his hero, a librarian, his entire inspiration for the 13 years he's been at the library, to have this person tell him that the library is more important. Now there's that seed of doubt again. Now there's that thing that he fought so hard to get over. He fought so hard to not think like that, to not think that the library is more important. And now someone's telling that to him again. And he doesn't want to believe that because he knows it's crap. But then Darrington Dare tells him that his dying wish is to see that there's only one librarian. And obviously Flynn's not going to do that. He could never do that to Jake and Cassie and Ezekiel. He couldn't, and he couldn't do it to Eve, because that would hurt Eve too. And he wouldn't do it, because that's not the Flynn that he is anymore. This is all leading up to why Flynn left, because that's what I'm trying to talk about here, and I don't think I'm doing a very good job of putting my thoughts into coherent lines, but I'm talking about it. Now you have Flynn thinking, if I stay at the library, maybe I have to fire them if I stay at the library. Or now the library is trying to tell me that it's more important than these people, and people are trying to tell me that the library is more important than my relationships, and that's not true. And then when Nicole says to him, don't be a prisoner, the library is turning you into a prison, what do you think that would do to Flynn's head? I mean, honestly, I want people to see who are mad at him for leaving, like, this is the progress of Flynn, and I think it's because of how far he's come that he left. Because he's leaving because he doesn't trust the library. And why doesn't he trust the library? Because Darrington Dare said that the library is more important than even the Litz, and Nicole said the library is keeping him prison, which can contribute to that. So, that's what I'm getting at. Flynn mistrusts the library now, and that's why he panicked and bolted. I think this move from Flynn was not well thought out. I think it was a panic move. I think that's why he just left the ring. I think that's why he didn't talk to Eve. He panicked and he bolted. And I could go on for hours and hours about why he panicked, but I did a post on Tumblr about it. I'll leave a link to that in the description. I think if Flynn really did resign from the library, and I say if for a reason that I'm going to get to, I think it was a panic move. And I think that Flynn of season 2 or season 3 would not have left. And I think that's what I'm saying when I try to say that this is not backtrack. This actually shows how far he's come. Because Flynn of season 2 would not have left because Flynn of season 2 loved the library so much, with so much conviction, and Flynn of season 3 the same, that he never would have been able to doubt the library, even if Darrington Dare and Nicole said it. And Flynn of season 2, if Darrington Dare had told him this story about the warring librarians, Flynn would have said, bye guys, you're out. But he's not. He's not. He's putting other people first, which is so huge for Flynn. But of course that means now he's going to leave the library because he doesn't trust the library. But the fact that he's able to mistrust the library just shows us how far he's come. And I'm so happy about it, and I'm so proud of him, as much as this hurts. I also want to say that Flynn's development in general, what I love about it as compared to the development that other TV shows do, while it might seem that it's like backtracking, I don't think it is. I think it's some of the most realistic development I've ever seen on TV, because at any point in life, when you have as many issues as Flynn had, change doesn't happen in the snap of a finger. Change does not happen even when he has an epiphany as big as he had in Trial of a Triangle. He's still going to have setbacks down the line. And I think this show does a wonderful job of showing that, you know, everything can seem happily ever after, but that doesn't mean you're not going to have setbacks in the future. That doesn't mean you're not going to regress. And that's what real progress and personal growth is. That's what it is in reality. And I think for the librarians to demonstrate that through Flynn is so profound and so important. They did it in Leverage with Nate, and now we're kind of seeing it in Flynn and the librarians, and they're doing a really, really, really good job of it. So, talking about how everybody in the library is going to react to this, because I've had a lot of thoughts. I've had a lot of time to think over the past, 5 days about, the different things that are making me sad about Flynn leaving, because obviously I'm sad that he would doubt the library. I'm sad because the library means so much to him and to me, and he means so much to me, and just to see him doubt the library hurts. I'm in pain talking about it, and I might start crying. But I'm thinking about everybody's reaction to this. I'm thinking about Charlene and Judson watching this from the mirror realm, and don't go too far into that thought because it hurts. I'm thinking about Cal, because we have Cal back now, and Cal is there, and I really don't want to think about Cal right now, or Cal comforting Eve, and Eve comforting Cal. But the one that I really want to talk about is Eve, because I don't think Eve is going to give up on him. Knowing Eve's character and knowing their relationship development, I think and I hope that Eve is going to take less of an angry approach and more of a worried approach. I've been writing a lot of fanfic. That's how I've been writing her. I kind of see the way their relationship as it is right now. I mean, obviously Eve might be a little mad and obviously hurt that he left her and that he's not there with her, but I think Eve is going to be worried about him above all else, because to think about him not being in the library is probably very worrisome for her, because she knows him so well. I think we're going to see, I hope we get to see a lot of Eve maybe trying to call him. talking about trying to find him, and Jenkins telling her she shouldn't, but I think Eve is going to keep believing that, you know, he's going to come back home, and I think Eve is going to be fighting hard to try and find him and figure out where he is, and Eve is going to be fighting very hard to try and get him home. Now, the Lits. I think in previous seasons, the Lits would have been mad about this. Like, I think they're still going to be more mad than Eve is, and Eve is going to try to convince them to not be as mad at him or to be more worried. But I think the Lits have gotten a lot closer to Flynn since Trial of a Triangle. They have gotten a lot closer to him, and they're not as close as he is to Eve, obviously, but I think the Lits are more likely to be worried about him too. I think they're going to be more mad than Eve, but I don't think they're going to be as mad as they have been in the past when he left. I think the Lits are also probably going to take somewhat of a worried approach, being more on the worried side. I really hope we get to see some of that before Flynn comes back in what I assume is going to be the finale. And I really, really hope we do get to see how this is affecting everyone. Because I think that they're all so close now, they're a family, this is really going to affect them big time. Flynn's just not running, he said that he resigned from the library, or Jenkins said, so that's what they're assuming. And I really want to see how this is going to affect people, how this is going to affect their relationships with Flynn, and how they're gonna view it. Moving on, finally, to predictions. Now, I have some predictions about how Flynn is gonna make his way back, how it might happen. I'm thinking like maybe they run into him outside of the library, or they find him, and maybe we have another intervention thing, where it's kind of like the intervention in Trial of a Triangle, but kind of more so that scene in Happily Ever Afters, where Flynn is convincing them to give up their Happily Ever Afters and come back to the library. Now they need to do that for Flynn, just like he did that for them. I think that's gonna be a really beautiful thing to see if that's what happens, and like, oh man. But while I have spoken very fervently about how this writing choice makes sense for Flynn, and I can understand why he left if he left, I also think there's a big possibility that he didn't leave, that Jenkins has got it wrong, and that something's wrong. Because Flynn has grown a lot, and while I see it as a possibility, a sensible possibility for him to bolt, I also see it as a big possibility for him to trust the library, to trust Eve, to not do that, to not just leave the tethering ring and go. And the fact that we didn't see him leave, that he didn't fight with Eve, that he didn't leave Eve a letter, something's fishy. Something's really, really fishy. And Jenkins kind of has a habit, as much as I love him, Jenkins has a habit of assuming the worst. And kind of just assuming and accepting the worst sometimes, and we see that throughout the series, and that's understandable with how long he's lived and what situations he's lived in. So I think Jenkins would be quick to assume that Flynn resigned from the library, but we don't have a letter of resignation. He didn't leave a note that said, "I'm resigning." He didn't do any of that. He just took his stuff and left his ring, and Jenkins assumed that he resigned. But we don't know what really happened. So I think that in itself leaves us open for a plot twist. Some predictions about what could have happened. I think maybe somebody took Flynn's memory. Maybe that's a thing. And, you know, they took Flynn's memory. He didn't know where he was, and he didn't know what the ring was, so he took it off, took his stuff, and left. Or somebody captured Flynn, took off his ring, took his stuff, and made it look like he left. Or he did leave to just go clear his head, and then he lost his memory. Or something happened. Especially because Flynn's gonna be gone for such a long time, like 5 episodes. I really think something might have happened. And so I think in the finale, maybe we're gonna see Eve run into him outside of the library and, like, be mad at him, and then he doesn't know who she is, and then something goes down. Or then, like, maybe Jenkins finds out, and Jenkins tells her, like, Flynn is here, or whoever it is that hurt him says, "We have your librarian." And I'm just thinking about Eve's face, like, when she found out that he was gonna kill himself in Wrath of Chaos, I'm thinking about her face being very similar to that, and it hurts, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts. But I do think that's a big possibility, and I'm really, really interested to see what's gonna happen. The finale can't come soon enough, but also it can't come far away enough because I don't want the season to be over. But I need to know. And I also have the possibility that if Flynn did leave of his own volition, I think the most likely way that he would come back is either Eve is in trouble or the Lits are in trouble, and Eve or the Lits, whoever's not in trouble, calls him and he comes right back because it's his family. So that's it for me today. Let me know what you think about everything that I said about Flynn in the description below. What do you think about Flynn's character development so far? What are your predictions for A, what happened to Flynn, and B, how it's going to be resolved? And how do you think Eve and Litz and everyone in the library is going to react to this? Is there anyone that I haven't thought about who might react to this in a way that's incredibly painful for all of us to imagine? Let me know. You can follow me on Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram. All the links are in the description, as are the links to my episode reviews for Season 4. Please remember to live tweet Season 4 Wednesdays at 8/7 Central on TNT or wherever you watch The Librarians. Please remember to watch live if you can, and if you are doing so, to live tweet. Keep telling TNT how much we love the show and how much we want a Season 5. If you like this video, please remember to like and subscribe. I will see you on Wednesday to review our next episode. And stay magical, Litz. Love ya. Mwah.